One of the new features in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the ability to evolve copy abilities. With the help of the crafty Weapons Shop Waddle Dee and a couple of her stones, every single copy ability can be evolved to a bigger and stronger version of itself. Throughout the game, we can evolve each copy ability up to 2 times. Well, for most of them. During the post-game, only 2 of the 10 copy abilities get to be evolved a 3rd time, for a super extra deluxe final evolution, based on 2 of the game's bosses. Those being Hammer, which gets a 3rd evolution based on Forgo Drill, having Kirby dual-wield hammers and create fire from them, just like the Possessed King, and Sword, whose 3rd evolution is based off the Fluttering Dream Eater, Morphonite, having Kirby wield its magic sword and possess the knight's powers. This is somewhat odd. Don't get me wrong, I love these additions. It feels great to get them and to use them. But why did they stop there? Why not give the remaining 8 abilities 3rd evolutions based off the game's bosses? So I took matters into my own hands and made some copy ability blueprints for these hypothetical final evolutions. Hello everyone, I'm Dexys from the Dexys Show, and welcome to the pilot episode of Kirby's Forgotten Abilities, a new series where I will be making blueprints for copy abilities that didn't make it into Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Let's start with the first boss of the game, the armed beast, Gorimondo. This is the 3rd evolution for Tornado. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Tornado has 2 attacks. The first attack being the classic Tornado attack, and the second attack is the one made by tapping the attack button during the regular Tornado attack, causing the tornado to end with a gush of wind. This attack being called Hyper Tornado. With Gorimondo Tornado, during the Tornado attack, Kirby spins relatively fast. What's new here is the huge space this attack takes. Gorimondo is the biggest member of the Beast Pack, therefore his attack is also the biggest attack in the game, if you don't count Crash, that is. Once the attack ends, Kirby throws 3 giant boulders at the nearest enemies. If no enemies are nearby, he will throw them to his front in a forked path. When the boulders hit the ground or an enemy, they will break and disappear. By performing Hyper Tornado with Gorimondo Tornado, Kirby will stop spinning and give a huge slap forwards, followed by 3 boulders in a wider forked path. Gorimondo Tornado gets 2 new attacks as well. Shield and tap the attack button to do the Gorimondo slap attack. You can also instead shield and press and hold the attack button to do Gorimondo's grabbing attack, in which Kirby grabs an enemy in range and throws them forwards, or towards the nearest enemy. Next up is the Unfriendly Fronds Tropic Woods. This is the 3rd evolution for Bomb. Bomb has 2 attacks in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Bomb Throw, the regular attack where Kirby throws a single bomb forwards, which can be aimed, and Bomb Bowl, in which Kirby bowls a bomb forwards. For Tropic Bomb, Kirby will be able to throw 2 different types of bombs. First are the air bullets, which are thrown by simply tapping the attack button. You can charge the attack by pressing and holding the attack button, which will cause Kirby to throw more air bullets. The amount of air bullets thrown depend on the amount of time the attack is charged. While Kirby throws the multiple air bullets from a charged attack, Kirby will be able to move around as well. Almost like how you can move around while doing the fire or ice breath attacks with the fire or ice copy abilities. You can also keep throwing air bullets by mashing the B button. During this, you can also move around slowly to aim. If you charge the attack for an even longer amount of time, Kirby will instead throw a huge coconut bomb that explodes on impact and causes a huge explosion. Bomb Bowl has Kirby throw a big air bullet that when in contact or when reaching a certain distance turns into 3 smaller air bullets that spread out. Tropic Bomb also gives Kirby a special shield and another extra attack. When shielding, Kirby pulls out Tropic Wood's shield with his own roots. In this ability's additional attack, Kirby creates roots on the floor to attack. This attack has 2 variations. The first one, which is done by shielding and pressing the attack button while pressing toward the desired direction, has Kirby pop a small root in front of him that travels forwards. This attack can be spammed, and while not being able to move, Kirby can turn around with the control stick and choose the direction the next root will travel to. Now comes everyone's favorite acrobat, the Lethal Leopard, Clawroline. This boss being used for Cutter's 3rd evolution. Even though you get Sword when inhaling her blade, Cutter will suffice. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Cutter has 4 moves: Cutter Throw, where Kirby throws the boomerang cutter forwards, Cutter Hold, where Kirby holds the cutter in place, causing it to spin faster and grow in place, which can then be followed by Hyper Boomerang, where the held blade returns straight to Kirby. And finally, we have Final Cutter, where Kirby uses his cutter to cleave through an enemy before finishing them off with a jumping slash. For Clawroline Cutter, Kirby throws Clawroline's iconic knives instead of cutter blades. These travel faster and are larger and stronger than regular cutter blades, but do not boomerang back towards Kirby. Instead, they fly off screen or stick to a wall when in contact during its travel. Instead of Cutter Hold, Clawroline Cutter allows Kirby to rapid fire knives towards the same direction, while the attack button is held. Kirby can also move during this attack, similarly to how he can move during Cutter Hold. For Final Cutter, Kirby first slashes with Clawroline's claws and then hops up and slashes down, causing a shockwave when landing. Clawroline Cutter has 2 more additional attacks. By shielding and tapping the attack button, Kirby will slash forwards once with Clawroline's claws. You can follow up this attack 2 more times, where Kirby performs a 3-swipe slash combo. Finally, if you press and hold the attack button while shielding, Kirby will charge up and will dash and slash forwards when the attack button is released. Next up is the royal nemesis who has forgotten, King Dedede, who will be used for the Ice ability's 3rd evolution. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Ice has 4 attacks: Ice Breath, where Kirby blows ice forwards, Ice Skate, where Kirby ice skates to dash, Ice Storm, where Kirby creates a close-range wave of ice that freezes enemies on contact, and Ice Block, where Kirby shields himself inside of a block of ice. For Dedede Ice, instead of Ice Breath, Kirby does Icicle Slam, where Kirby constantly swings a pillar in front of him multiple times in multiple directions, varying from right to left to a downward slam. After every swing, the floor in front of Kirby turns into icicles. Any enemy that walks into the icicles will take damage, and anyone hit by the pillar's swing will be frozen into an ice block that will be automatically kicked forward. For Ice Storm, Kirby freezes himself inside a King Dedede shaped ice block. If Ice Storm is started while standing still, the Dedede Ice sculpture will have Dedede doing his amiibo pose. Well, if the attack is triggered while Kirby is moving, Kirby will shield himself inside a tripping Dedede Ice sculpture. Dedede Ice will leave little snowmen shaped after the mini Dededes from Kirby Fighters Deluxe behind Kirby's trails. The shielding ice block will be shaped after one of 2 iconic Dedede poses: the crouch animation from Super Smash Bros, or the proud pose Dedede has been doing in multiple games. Ice Dedede has 1 extra attack. If you press and hold the attack button while shielding, Kirby will do the Super Dedede Jump. While Kirby is airborne, you can slowly move Kirby around to change the location he lands on. Once he slams into the floor, Kirby will cause a freezing shockwave around him. Next up, we go to the armor-plated Prancer, Sillydillo, who will be used for Needle's 3rd evolution. Trust me, this will make sense. Needle has the following attacks: the regular standing Needle attack, where Kirby extends his needles around him to attack; the attack that follows the slow rolling Needle attack, which is done when moving while doing the regular standing Needle attack. Then there's the air version of the normal Needle attack, where Kirby rapidly spins in place while extending his needles. And finally, there's the air version of the rolling Needle attack, in which Kirby quickly spins while aiming toward the aimed direction in air. For Sillydillo Needle's round attacks, Kirby whips up one of Sillydillo's dance partners and spins with them in place. Kirby can slowly move around with them while spinning. Once the attack button is released, Kirby will throw the dance partner forwards, and it will collapse after hitting a wall, and will drag with it any small enemies that get hit by its traversal. While spinning with the dance partner, Kirby will also be able to pick up and throw any small enemies that is hit with this attack. Once the attack button is released, the picked up enemies will also be thrown alongside the dance partner. For the air variations of the attack, Kirby curls up into Sillydillo's shell and spins extra quickly. When releasing the attack button, Kirby will throw 2 explosive handmade Kirbys. You can also trigger this roll attack on the ground by shielding and pressing and holding the attack button, starting the attack when releasing the attack button. To which Kirby will dash forwards quickly and then come to a stop on his own, or will immediately stop when the attack button is tapped, causing him to throw the explosive Kirbys. Finally, if you quickly tap the attack button while shielding, Kirby will pull out a cage and slam it while spinning. This will not catch an enemy inside of it, but it will cause a bunch of damage. Next up is the Raging King of Beasts, Leongar, who will be used for Fire's 3rd evolution. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Fire Kirby has 2 abilities: Fire Breath, in which Kirby exhales flames for as long as the button is held, and Burning, in which Kirby flies forwards as a fireball, hurting and burning anyone in his path. For Leongar Fire, Kirby shoots a huge laser forwards, instead of a short flame breath. Just like Fire Breath, this attack will last for as long as the attack button is held, and can be aimed with the direction stick. For Burning, Leongar Fire instead does a fired up bite pounce forwards, which can then be followed by a fiery pounce jump if you tap the attack button while doing this attack. Leongar Fire has 3 more additional attacks. If you shield and tap the attack button, Kirby will slash forwards. If you press and hold the attack button for a bit while shielding, Kirby will instead do a swipe beam attack. And if you press and hold the attack button for a little bit longer while shielding, Kirby will do a slash dash, in which he will dash forwards and then stop with a big slash in front of him, dragging and throwing any small enemies that get hit by this attack. And here we are! I present to you the invasive species, Forgo, who will be used for Drill's 3rd evolution. Drill has 3 attacks: Excavate, where Kirby drills underground; Quick Surge, the attack done when drilling in a circle, causing a lump of rocks to erupt from the ground; and Drill Dash, in which Kirby activates his drill in mid-air, and in later evolutions, have Kirby shoot a drill beam forward. For Forgo Drill's Excavate, Kirby drills underground, but leaves a bit of Forgo's slime on the ground over him. The slime will grow tentacles and grab and attack any enemies that are close to it, while additionally itself causing damage. When moving around, the slime will leave tracks of itself, and the trail itself also has tentacles to attack any enemy that gets close to them, while the track itself also dealing damage. The way these tentacles attack is by grabbing the enemy and dragging them into itself. The slime then absorbs them, healing a line of Kirby's health per enemy. Kirby's resurface attack has him simply hop out of the ground, causing Forgo's slime to spread everywhere. The mid-air attack, Drill Dash, has Kirby throw 3 slime balls forwards that act like the rest of the slimes in his moveset, tentacles and all. Finally, Quick Surge has Kirby create a small replica of Forgo's boss form, instead of an eruption of rocks. The replica has the same effects as all the slime, where itself causes damage and also grabs onto any nearby enemy, sucking them in and using it to heal Kirby. And if you shield and tap the attack button, Kirby will create a replica of Forgo's boss form, which will lunge forwards and take a huge bite. Finally, we welcome the ultimate life form, IDF86, otherwise known as Elfilin, who will be used for Ranger's 3rd evolution, Elfilis Ranger. Ranger has 3 main attacks: Star Shot, from which Kirby shoots a star projectile from his blunderbuss; Charge Shot, where Kirby shoots an even bigger and stronger star; and Shooter Upper, where Kirby fires several short-range shots in an upward curve. In Elfilis Ranger, Kirby does not wield a blunderbuss. Instead, he wields Elfilis' spear. For Star Shot, Kirby instead shoots one of Elfilis' light beams. Then Kirby has up to 4 different Char Shots: Triple Charge Shot, where he shoots 3 light beams; Half a dozen Charge Shot, where Kirby shoots 6 light beams; Dual Meteor Smash, where Kirby opens up a dimensional rift and shoots 2 small meteors; and Giant Meteor Smash, where he shoots 1 giant meteor from a dimensional rift. Elfilis Ranger's version of Shooter Upper has Kirby simply floating in the air and shooting 6 homing light beams. Now comes a wave of new attacks. Hey, this ability is based off the final boss, so of course it's going to be an overpowered mess with tons of attacks. For starters, when shielding, Kirby covers himself with the giant ears in his hat. For every second Kirby is shielding, he will automatically heal a sliver of health. When you dodge, you instead vanish and reappear, just like Kirby does with Morphonite Sword. If you tap the attack button while shielding, Kirby will swipe forward with his staff. If you press and hold the attack button while shielding and pressing towards a direction of the control stick, Kirby will open dimensional rifts towards the direction you're holding to, from which a copy of his staff will emerge once you release the attack button. If you press and hold the attack button after dashing and then shielding, Kirby will charge up for a lunging staff. Release the attack buttons to fly forwards and attack. If you press and hold the shield button while in midair, Kirby will float in place. And he can move around freely during this state with the control stick. If you press and hold the attack button during this state, Kirby pierces down and sticks his staff to the floor and drags it along the ground forwards. You can obviously steer Kirby's direction during this attack with the control stick. Finally, when you release the attack button during this attack, Kirby will do a loop in the air and pierce downwards with his staff to the floor to end the attack. And that's it! Now with these, every ability in Kirby and the Forgotten Land gets a final evolution based on a boss battle from the game, just like how Sword and Hammer got their own. I wonder if something similar to this was planned during the development of Forgotten Land and was scrapped due to, I don't know, time constraints or something. Or if something like this is planned for DLC, if the Forgotten Land gets any. Well, with this I end this video. I hope that you enjoyed these concepts, because there will be more coming in the future. This time for a couple abilities that weren't in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Dare I say, were Kirby's forgotten abilities. I really hope you look forward to the first true episode of this series. That is, if this video is successful enough for it to warrant a series. Well, thank you for watching, have a great day, goodbye.